time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi Manassian and Dan Rosenberg, because it's now time for Clutch Radio. The show starts now.
Raffi's here.
I'm back.
There he is. It's not even a rerun.
It's great to be back, Dan. A lot going on here in the automotive pulsing world of San Francisco, California.
Yeah, I mean, there's, are you safe from the Pelosi attack?
I am safe from the Pelosi attack. Okay. It's been the talk of the town among politicians and other people. Good morning, Adam Jones.
Yes, the triumphant return of Raffi.
Like I was in battle somewhere. But, I guess living in San Francisco and working there is a bit of a battle. I'll have to share a photo with you. I meant to send it early, but I'll make sure to do that during the show so that you can post it to show the innovative use of vehicles in San Francisco.
So my question, what's it like to go to a Walgreens to buy something and have people just walk out with stuff and you're like standing there waiting in line to pay and they're just like walking out with the same thing you're trying to buy?
This is what's happening because the security people are informed not to engage anyone that is taking items out of the stores because it's more problematic to invite potential altercation than it is to let go of a couple $100 worth of merchandise, which can be covered at far less cost. It's the same reasoning associated with insurance companies that no longer offer data protection recovery. Instead, they just pay the ransom because it's cheaper than trying to recover the data.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So welcome back. Clutch Radio has taken a little hiatus. We had the Dan Rosenberg show for the last few weeks. And we also tried the Car Yada show. I realized cars without Raffi is not cars. So no. Yeah, and a lot has happened in the car world.
Oh yeah.
Carvana is cratering, as is all the online car companies are having big problems. Elon Musk has been ignoring Tesla to run Twitter now.
Yes.
Which has been ridiculous.
Yes, indeed.
And funny as well.
Oh, it's certainly full of entertainment, but you got to figure this. If he's as clever the showman as he appears to be, it makes more sense for him to do challenging, volatile, and newsworthy things during his tenure so that when he, quote unquote, saves the company, saving it from primarily himself, he can take some credit for it.
Yeah. I mean, and Tesla is getting to the point now where they're a major manufacturer. I see more Teslas on the road than Priuses at this point, especially locally. But even when I was out of town, I just went to Atlanta for a few days, and my Uber twice was a Tesla. A Tesla Model 3. Yeah. And it's funny when you sit down in a Tesla and you're like, wait, how do I open the door? Oh, there's a button to open the door.
Yeah.
There's no handle. You have to push a little button. So they're very common out there. So we have there's a lot of other, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think both you and I referred to them, certainly as they referred to them out here, they are the Silicon Valley Camry.
Yeah. I call it the Bainbridge Island Prius.
There you go.
Which is very similar. My first thing to stump Raffi, let's see how quickly I can stump you, is the hat I was given by a friend. Do you recognize it?
Let me see here.
It does not say JVC.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to say.
It is an M.
It is an M. Is it? Boy, my first thought was Michigan, but it's orange.
Right. Look at that. There's a little hint right there.
Looks like is it an eagle?
No, it's like a little upside down Nike symbol almost.
It's a semi swoosh.
A semi-swoosh.
I have no idea.
If anybody in the comments can guess what this is, I'll tell you soon. I have a friend that works for Reddit, and he was at a big event for this company and brought back a lot of swag, and he gave me this hat. It is otter related. I think I did this on the show previously, actually. I think I might have worn this last week, and I think Jake figured it out. So, but Jake is busy picking up his car from the upholsterer.
Yes.
If he bankrupts Twitter, will that have any ramifications for Tesla? Only for their Twitter feed.
Well, you know, the big question is, look, Musk is undoubtedly a clever businessman. He's done a tremendous amount to create an industry, to create a product for an industry that is extremely difficult to operate in, the automobile industry. And, you know, having the success that he has is admirable enough. But the fact that he had that success with volumes of vehicles, not just 1,000 a year, 1,500, 10,000 a year, which would alone be fantastic, but he's made hundreds of thousands of vehicles. And so to some extent, either he or people close to him are familiar with volume operations. Now, Twitter is also a volume operation, but it varies in one very critical and important way. And that is that the immediacy of Twitter is very, very different from the ruminative processes associated with engineering. All of the hard stuff that has to be done to make Twitter appear seamless is hidden mostly and unknown from people that work at the level that Musk works. So his challenge is going to be to dive in deep enough to understand that there's a tremendous amount of infrastructure. There are more than just one man behind the curtain to make that wizard omnipotent, omnipresent. There,
omnipresent,
yeah,
or omnipotent.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is amazing that when people heard that he was laying off 3,700 people and that was half the workforce, they're like, they had that many people working. There's 7,500 people working at Twitter. Like, why did it take that many people to make Twitter?
Yeah, well,
it's been really funny that they did the verification that you could pay $8 and get verified. So I'm like, well, let me see if that works. And I did it, and it's like instant, like boom, you're like, I thought they'd ask you for your driver's license. And they'd verify that you're really who you say you are, and that your name would have to match what's on your license. Like, you can't say you're Elon Musk or Pee Wee Herman or Mr. Bean.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen some of these parody accounts. They're hysterical. I mean, somebody did an Eli Lilly one, and they came out and said, we've decided to make insulin free.
Oh.
And then Eli Lilly had to come out and say that was a parody account. That was a fake account. We've contacted the authority. We've had it turned off. And then, of course, Bernie Sanders said, you know what's a bigger joke is that the patent for insulin was given away in 1923 by the inventor, and you guys are making a profit off of it and charging more in this country than anywhere else. And of course, Elon makes a comment. Well, that's not exactly true. It was invented in 1921, not 1920. Like, he's like correcting Bernie. It's like he didn't say it was invented. He said. Janice says hi. Hey, Janice.
Hey, Janice.
Go back to Tesla for a minute.
Sure.
I'm going to test your knowledge.
Oh, okay.
What was the first year they sold cars?
Oh, that's a good question. The first year they sold, I want to say it was 2006 with the Tesla sports car, which was derivative of the Lotus mid-engine sports car. They removed the Toyota-based twin cam engine and installed electric motors, and I think it was 2006.
It was 2008.
Okay.
They sold around 100 Roadsters in 2008.
Okay.
In 2009, they sold around 900. 2010, they sold 400. They dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And then every year since then, they've gone up. The Model S came out in 2012.
Which was your model, wasn't it? Or was yours? Yeah.
And then in 2013, they discontinued the Roadster and only sold the S. How many Model S's did they sell, do you think, in 2013?
Let's see. Now that 2012 was the first production year, but 2013.
Right, I got mine in May of 13. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Bob. I'm going to say 6,000.
Not far off. Okay, quite 22,477.
22,000.
Yeah, and every year they went up since then. Wow. And then in 15, the fourth quarter, they released the Model X.
Yeah.
And then in 17, in the third quarter, they released the Model 3. And then the Model Y came out in 2020.
Now, the Model X, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is their least successful production model.
I think they have fewer of those because they were so expensive.
They were very expensive and they were problematic. They had many issues with them.
Yeah, the
Falcon doors.
Falcon doors, yes, they had problems with that. I was going to say gull-wing, but they weren't seagulls. But do you know in 2021 how many cars total they sold?
Oh, I think it's over 300,000. I want to say maybe even
way over
560, 580, something like that.
936,222.
Wow.
Almost a million cars.
Yeah. So that's not only impressive, it's probably close to unprecedented in terms of the amount of cars in the amount of time during development, because you'd have to look back pretty far to find a company that was able to get that much acceleration in a short period of time in the automotive industry. Those numbers are very, very impressive. And I also read somewhere that their valuation is more than all the combined top 6 other major manufacturers, just on a valuation basis. Tesla.
Yeah, right now their valuation is $614 billion.
Yeah.
And if you take General Motors, their valuation is $58 billion.
Yeah.
And if you take Ford, their valuation is $58 billion. Well, they're both the same. That's crazy. Ford and GM are the same. So you add those two together, you're still only a sixth.
Yeah. And you had Toyota, you had Nissan, you had all the others in there, and you get your top 6 brands, and they're still not approaching what Tesla's valuation is. Now, that's not to say that the valuation is the equivalent of or predicated on any future success, but it is impressive from a number of different perspectives, not the least of which is the fact that they've been able to make not only a significant and important car, but sell an expensive, significant and important car. Because when you look at that volume, 1 million units, it's easier to achieve 1 million units with, say, a Ford Escort. Or a Volkswagen or a Model T, but they're making a very high quality product with the volume. And it's, if you look at premium brands like Bang & Olufsen, for example, or other high-end brands, they're not doing that level of volume. So in many respects, the Tesla is, both from a production perspective and from a manufacturing perspective, it is the iPhone of automobiles.
Yeah, and it really is shocking. I mean, it's 10 years basically from their first production car, because the Roadster wasn't really a production car. I mean, there's so few of the Roadsters made that you have to go from 2012, where they made very few Model S's. I mean, you didn't start seeing them around here. I know my neighbor had one late 2012, 2012, early 2013.
Right.
I had mine in May, but I mean, even when I had mine, the first year, I was still, everywhere I went, people asked questions about it.
Right. And I recall that at one point you had told me that when you were taking your car in for service, the service guy said there were 9 Teslas on Bainbridge Island. And
yeah.
That was kind of funny. I think there are 9 Teslas in the TNC parking lot at any given time now.
I completely agree. I mean, there might be 9 Polestars now on.
Yeah.
On
well,
Bainbridge.
and see, that's what's interesting about the electric car industry is that the electric car industry today owes their existence entirely to the laptops and cell phones of the past 20 years, because without the highly sophisticated developed lithium battery technology that was cultivated under volume manufacturing, there's no way you'd have the electric car in the numbers that we see today. The technology that was cultivated specifically to run our devices was transferred in volume to run our vehicles. Now, the question remains as to how much longer that type of battery can remain effective from a resource management perspective. And now we know that battery technology is being developed to supersede lithium-based batteries, and probably within a 5 to 7 year window, we'll start seeing cost-effective solid-state batteries, which appears to be the most likely candidate for replacement of lithium batteries.
Yeah. Now, in comparison, Polestar, in their first year of production, so that would be considered the same as the 2013 of Tesla.
Yes.
Tesla sold 22,477, and Polestar sold 29,000.
Yeah,
so they're slightly ahead. Now, Elon did do one great thing, and that is he opened up all of his patents for all of his technology, because he's like, it's not, kind of like the inventor of insulin.
Yes.
You know, it's like, here you go. You guys can all use my technology, because he wants more electric cars.
Right.
Now, the battery technology, however, I don't think he did open up the patents for the batteries. Kind of like the guy that started Popeye's Chicken down in New Orleans, when he sold the company or went bankrupt and had to give up the company, he retained the rights to the spices. So therefore, he owned all the Popeye's chickens in the country had to buy the spices from him. So
not a bad deal.
If Elon comes up with a new battery, everyone's gonna have to buy it from him. That was his name. I cannot think of his name. Thank you, Adam Jones, who I met in New Orleans, who's from New Orleans. Al Copeland was the guy who started it.
So Musk will retain his spices, possibly.
Yes, Musk will retain his spices. Now, Ray,
retain his Musk.
His Musk. Now, a lot has happened while you were gone, Raffi.
Okay.
Especially with our good friend Ray.
Ray.
Life is good again. Oh, thanks, Ray. He tuned into a couple of the other shows. In your absence, he bought an $1,100 diesel van for you. Oh, you're letting people know what you paid for it. Okay.
Oh.
And I get to take road trips when we get old. It has a wheelchair lift. Let me share this picture. So Ray and I were both watching the same auction, and nobody was bidding on this thing.
Oh my goodness. Nobody bid on that?
It's a 2007 with a 7.3 Ford diesel.
Wow.
It's a dually.
Wow.
It has 125,000 miles, which, let's be honest, that's pretty much nothing.
It's nothing for a commercial diesel vehicle. And is it set up? It looks like it's a rental car, or
that's what I thought it was.
Shuttle.
But then he found another one on Craigslist that was newer, and they were asking $18,000 for it. But it's got a wheelchair lift in the back. It doesn't have a ton of seats inside, so we think maybe it was like for like a home of some sort, or like a private courier.
It could be. Now, see that photo, the item up above, that is the inflatable boat if you're ever in a water landing.
Well, there you go. That's what I thought that was. That's perfect.
You just pull that lever and a boat emerges from the top of it, and you can You can float to safety.
And
So
if that's the problem, you put your head between your knees and you kiss your ass goodbye.
yes. Now it's also possible this was a small community shuttle, like for a retirement community. Um, there's a number of things that these are used for. But you're right, 100 some thousand miles, that's not a lot at all. A vehicle like that will put 100,000 miles in service within a year to 2 years. Um, is that it there? Oh,
No, that's a Chevy version for
yeah,
$18,900 that has 171,000 miles on it.
yeah. You should, Ray. You should call the guy that has that and ask him if he wants to double down on, and
You
he
say,
can,
hey, you want to buy this one for
and
10 grand?
10 grand and start a fleet.
This guy has two of them.
Oh, this has two.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that this guy might have bought them from that other company, or it's that company that uh, had them, or this guy. So basically, what happened was, we're watching this auction, and this comes across the block, and nobody bids on it, and they lower it down to $1,000, and I'm like, I'm about to click on this thing. I have no need for this, and then I see S&P Auto bids on. I'm like, oh, I'm off. Good old, and nobody else bid. So it goes into an if bid.
Yeah.
It's a bid to be approved.
Yeah.
And later that afternoon, Ray's like, holy crap, they accepted it. So, I mean, I honestly, Jake was talking about, Jake could, put his camper in the back,
Yeah.
build it into a camper and use it. I can't imagine what the towing capacity is, though. Can it tow a car?
That's a good question.
I mean,
it's
so it's like an F-350 basically.
Mm-hmm. It's possible, and even if it didn't have a towing package, it could be beefed up to tow. And I mean, for $1,100, you're off to such a good start. You could do anything. You could just park it in your backyard and turn it into a getaway room, that you could just hang out in. But what I think Ray should do with this is he should put Ray's used car sales graphics on it, and he should make that his new business, and so he can actually have a location, and people can come to that location to see his cars, and he can open his laptop and he can sell inventory from it, and then he's got an actual location to be a dealer.
Well, it's funny. It says it has 5 seats and lots of shackle type things. Looks like it used to hold wheelchairs in place. So it's probably transport for people that, are disabled and they need to get around. It was probably a service.
Yeah.
And they probably, there's a local service that does that. And Dan says all the windows make a good greenhouse for plants.
Yes.
They're growing.
And since Dan's in Oregon, we know Dan will be growing.
Well, they grow it here too, don't forget.
Oh, that's true.
Dan says a good mobile office.
Exactly.
Adam says the Ray Pepper Party Bus.
Speaking of spices, Ray's pepper.
Exactly.
That would be good. I like that. The Ray Pepper Party Bus.
Ray Pepper Party Bus.
I could see the graphics already. We'll get our Clutch Radio graphics team working on that right away.
We could do it when you're back in town after your semester's over down there. We should do that. We should, if Ray still has it, which I think he should. I don't think he could probably flip it pretty quickly, but yeah. I think we should set up a studio in there, put a green screen in, put the lights in, and have Ray drive us around, and we'll do the show live from the Clutch.
Live from the Ray
Pepper Party Patrol.
Yes. The Pepper Party Patrol.
I mean, he could do it up like a Seahawks colors instead of Golden State colors.
There you go.
And it just looks like a fun time.
It sure does. And you know what? We can all we can convert those shackles into real party bus fun, and we can attach all kinds of. We could actually say. I wonder if you can get a pinball machine in there.
Oh yeah, you definitely could. You probably get a couple video games.
Yeah, there you go. We can get. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was at the Auto Trader and Kelly Blue Book headquarters in Atlanta last week or this week, and their whole second floor is a game room.
Oh,
3 pool tables, a ping pong table, air hockey, a couple racing simulators, Pac-Man machine, a bunch of
nice.
Xbox. And there's big signs that say, "Do not hold any meetings in here. This is for relaxation and giving your brain a break only."
Ah, that's great.
Gallagher tabletop. They had that there. They had the Gallagher tabletop.
Oh, that's sad news though, because Gallagher died this week.
Gallagher?
Yeah,
Who's
the
Gallagher?
comedian. The
Oh,
comedian.
that was Gallagher.
I know.
I thought you had an accent all of a sudden. Yeah, Gallagher died.
Gallagher died. Yes.
He did take the van to Stokes, but he's still pondering. He hasn't given them the key or the title yet, but he parked it there. I mean, I think that thing at Stokes will probably get
8 grand.
Yeah, in that ballpark.
Yeah, that's good money. Good buy, Ray. And but it is tempting to think party bus, because boy, that sure would do it. The other thing that with only 120K miles on it, it would not be difficult for somebody who wants a camper type vehicle, not be difficult to convert that to camper living. And when you look at some of the costs associated with buying a new one, you could probably convert that, have a van conversion company convert the interior of it into a camper type vehicle for probably under $25,000. And you cannot get one of those type vehicles for less than 75, 80 grand anymore. So it's a great way to go if you're thinking about doing that kind of camping.
Ray, I got a guy that'll buy it right now, probably, because I'm working with for the sitcom down in LA. He wants me to find him a 3,500 Dodge.
Oh yeah,
Sprinter, the high top ProMaster, that he wants to send out and get converted into a van.
That is a high top vehicle. Ray's vehicle is a high top, and it looked to me like it was a long wheelbase as well, which I think is the model you're talking. I think it might even be a longer wheelbase than the one that he's looking at. And I don't think, are those dually?
Yeah, that was a dually.
No, not Ray's.
Like our friend John's.
Yeah, I don't think
that is a dually.
Is okay.
I think.
Okay. But yeah, that'd be a great way to go.
All right, so Ray has something. We're gonna show this real quick, and I'm gonna talk about this car. This will be the car of the week. All right, so Ray bought this at the auction.
Oh,
it's a 2000 Toyota 4Runner SR5 rear-wheel drive. However, V6 3.4, 236,000 miles. Now, I bought a 94, and I sold it, I think, for $4,600. 94. So this one's newer. This one is rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, and that kills some of the value. Mm-hmm. But the MMR, which is the Manheim Market Report, is $3,075. That's what it typically goes for at auction. Mm-hmm. And here's what Ray says. I mean, he's going crazy. Make any offers.
Wow.
He hasn't even seen it yet. This is Ray's groovy grab bag.
It's very groovy.
So, I mean, what do you want? I mean, $3,000, he'd probably sell it.
Oh yeah. And $3,000 is a great buy for somebody who's looking for this vehicle. Listen, these things regularly get 500,000 miles regularly. And as long as you get after the oil, and very important on these is the transmission. You want to get the transmission service on a regular basis. Don't be shy with a vehicle that has got over 150,000 miles. Get the transmission, drop the pan, get a new gasket, flush the transmission fluid, fresh fluid in there, and change a filter, all of that stuff. And these things will go literally forever. This is the SR5. It doesn't have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. It looks like it's got a ding in the front there, which is not the end of the world. But tires and brakes, and you're ready to go anywhere.
If it was four-wheel drive, this thing's a $5,000 rig, as
easily
they say. Rig.
Easily.
Because my older one sold, and my older one, when I bought it, the four-wheel drive did not work. And I did so much research, and I was so afraid it was going to cost a fortune. And I literally took a little pss, pss, air gun and I blew it into the two vacuum hoses because that's what turns it on and off. And it immediately started working.
Now, what's the interior look like on this?
We don't have pictures of the interior.
Okay, because that's going to be a big element to it as well. If it's been single person use and the entire interior is not worn, or if they didn't put a lot of stuff in the back, you're looking at a really good opportunity with that vehicle.
Ray said, "Show the ass."
Oh, there you go.
Like, show the ass. Is that really what we refer to the back of a car?
Yes.
I mean, you've got a good bike rack back there.
Sure.
Shimano sticker. I mean, it's pretty clean.
Yeah, I think this vehicle for $3,000, you can't get anywhere near this type of vehicle these days.
From the pictures he saw, it looks pretty good, and the interior, and you can kind of like below. Let me see if I can zoom in on any of those, because at the bottom you can kind of see some of the interior shots. Faded out, they're a little faded out, but I mean, it's not leather.
Yeah. If the cloth is in good shape, it's okay.
Yeah, the chrome looks nice.
Yeah, the paint looks decent.
I just never knew Forerunners came in two-wheel drive. I thought the whole reason they were called Forerunners because there's the Forerunner or the Pre-Runner,
right,
which is like the pickup truck version that was not four-wheel drive. I assumed Forerunner meant it had four-wheel drive.
Well, it says but
they did make rear-wheel drive versions of it.
Yeah.
But it's like that's a two-runner.
Yeah.
Because that's what I used to joke about the one that I had, that it was a two-runner. Speaking of,
I think before you let that idea go, I think it's a Forerunner because it runs for people instead of a two-door pickup truck type vehicle.
Oh.
I think that's what the designation is for it. It has nothing to do with four-wheel drive.
That's like when you get a Lincoln Navigator with no navigation system. You're like, what?
Right.
It's a Navigator.
Why?
Oh, yeah, you got to roll your booger. I might not know a lot about these cars, but I know it doesn't have all-wheel drive.
Oh, my.
So speaking of cars in the fleet, Raffi has not heard the news that I have not sold any of the cars.
You have all the cars?
The Stealth is still here.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, dear. All right.
The Fiero is the new edition. You haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen the Fiero. What color is it?
It's a bright red Fiero.
Is it the GT?
It is an 85 GT. It is the first year of the GT, so it's the V6. It's a 4-speed.
Yeah. It's red with gray interior.
Red with gray interior and gray bottom trim on the bottom.
Is it cloth or?
It is cloth. That's all that was available that year.
Adjustable seats or non-adjustable?
Slightly adjustable.
Okay.
Not electric.
Automatic?
The big problem was I went to take it to Cars and Coffee, and it has a whine kind of sound from the belt, and I was worried about that. And our mechanic Nick said it's hard to get to. You got to lift it up or go through the wheel well to get to the. It's only got one belt that runs the alternator and water pump.
Right, serpentine.
Yeah, there is not a belt for the air conditioning because it doesn't have air conditioning.
Is it a red or white wine?
Oh, that one. Okay, it's a rosé, Raffi. And it's like, and I'm driving down 305, our local highway, and all of a sudden the wine went away. I'm like, oh, it worked itself out fine. I knew driving it would, and then the battery light came on, and then the temperature starts going up, and the belt came off. And I was able to pull it out. I actually found the belt wrapped around some bar down in the thing, whatever, and I pulled it out. And I got the number off of it, and I ordered one. They don't carry them at any stores. I ordered one, and we're going to try to get it put on so I can drive it in to Green Lake Garage and have them do the brakes for me, and then also potentially do the alternate. I mean, the thing ran really good after we put tires on it. Like, it was like this. You drive it, you're like this, and the back two tires had flat spots from sitting for so long.
Okay.
And that's all it was. Like, we could not round out the tires.
Ah.
Janice says you're on fire today.
Well, I'm glad to be here. That's for sure. It's always a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
And we also, I don't know, you haven't been here, but we have a new viewer. At least the Dan Rosenberg show had a new viewer, and now Clutch Radio does, from Ireland.
Ireland. Wow.
Watching us on Twitch. And we were talking about the DeLorean manufacturer, the old plant.
Sure.
And they live right near there. And they said that it's a housing, they're building houses on top of the old plant right now. Housing, a place to live.
Wow. How, you know what? DeLorean's passed away now. I hope it doesn't turn into a poltergeist situation.
Well, they didn't bury him there. They buried him. No, they buried him on Trump's golf course.
Oh, they did.
Here's the irony of it. That golf course, Bedminster, that is DeLorean's old estate.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Yeah, Trump bought that. I don't know if he bought it from DeLorean, but it was DeLorean's estate in New Jersey.
Wow.
And that turned into Bedminster.
Well, the DeLorean was actually a really, really promising car company. We talk a lot about Tesla and how valuable it was. His soul is still over here. There you go. Well, and it's wonderful to have an international.
We're international now.
We are. We're all over the world. But DeLorean really was a fabulous.
He's a half hour drive away.
Yeah, a fabulous automotive entrepreneur. The interesting thing about DeLorean, and there are many things, is he revolutionized the auto industry for General Motors in many ways. But people tend to forget that about his history. If he had not done the DeLorean automobile, he would have been remembered and regarded like so many others from General Motors, including Zora Arkus Duntov, Herb Adams, other performance icons of that period who really led the way. Lee Iacocca, there are certain people from the industry that had long histories in developing automobiles and stayed the course on developing cars that we remember today as exciting, interesting, dynamic automobiles. And the DeLorean car was really a very, very ambitious project at one of the worst times in automotive history. It could not have been more poorly timed. The late 70s, early 80s was a desperate automobile industry period. And had he just waited 5 years, maybe even 4 years, and announced the car later in, let's say, 80 as an 86 or 87 model car, it would have been a completely different situation, and it might have survived.
Yeah, and he also, the GTO was all him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, hey, let's put a bigger engine than Le Mans and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, muscle cars really, he's a big credit. The Chevy Vega, you can make fun of the Vega, but that was a successful car, for its time, because they were fighting the Japanese imports. They needed a small, fuel efficient car.
That's right.
If you can find a nice V8 Vega these days, you've got a nice moneymaker.
You sure can. Or a Cosworth Vega, which has the twin cam engine.
Now, making it over here in Ireland during the Troubles caused a few issues. Yeah, he said to me, he had the Catholics and the Protestants, they had a separate entrance to come into the factory, and each factory, once they got in, they worked no problem. We're okay. And then they left, and the problems were out on the streets, but it was almost a unifying for a while, at least.
Well, and it was a good idea to manufacture in Ireland because, boy, they sure did need it at that time. And it's a shame that it didn't take off, because it could have made a big impression on automotive manufacturing for Ireland. People don't realize we could do a whole show on manufacturing engineering and geniuses out of Ireland. There are a tremendous amount of largely unknown Irish engineers that have made significant advances in automotive, aerospace, and machine technology. And it continues today. Engineering for energy resources, also a really, really big industry in Ireland.
Well, let's remember Belfast is famous for the DeLorean, but there's one other thing it's famous for that was built there.
Fantastic beer.
Okay, yes, but the Titanic was built there.
The Titanic was built in Belfast?
Yeah.
Oh, was that the Protestants or the Catholics that built that?
I'm not sure.
My money's on the Catholics.
1909.
I shouldn't say such things.
Started building it in 1909 by the shipbuilding company Harland and Wolff. For the White Star Line. So that tells you a little bit about building. Now, if you know DeLorean's story too, I don't know how we turned into a DeLorean episode. I know a lot about the guy. He was a scammer a little bit at the near the end. I mean, he was a lot of made up stories to get things to happen. He was trying to get the car built in the United States. He had a few states that were willing to give tax breaks. Yep. Puerto Rico actually made a deal with him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was going to go to Puerto Rico, and then the Irish government gave him a ton of money. Here we go. Built by an Irishman, sunk by an Englishman. The shipyard was mainly Protestant.
There you go. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they only made about 9,000 in a 3-year period, really a 2-year period. I mean, they have 81s, 82s, and 83 model years.
Right.
Well, you're not going to have, you're not going to find anything built in 83. The last ones I think were in December of 82 were the last builds.
Well, and it's not as though this hadn't been tried. A decade earlier, Malcolm Bricklin built the Bricklin, which was also an ill-fated gull-wing automobile, independently developed and designed by Malcolm Bricklin's team. And they had built, I'm going to say, around 4,000 Bricklins, but to have built 9,000 cars in total, I think that would make DeLorean the second most successful automobile manufacturing entity after the Second World War. So you have Tesla, then you have DeLorean, then you have Bricklin, and then there's sort of goes into a subcategory which would allow Shelby and Shelby American in, though they never manufactured their own cars. They took existing vehicles and remanufactured them with different engines, suspension components, and things like that. But here too, Shelby American never achieved the volume that DeLorean did. I don't believe there's another car company in there, and we've seen many. Vector probably did a handful of them.
So Bricklin was 3,000 and DeLorean was about 9,000. What's amazing with DeLorean is of the 9,000 built, there are still 6,500 registered on the road DeLoreans.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. You look at what it takes to build an automobile in units beyond 1,000 or 1,500. Most of the car companies we see that are building cars, like an Ariel Atom or a Vector or some of these small manufactured companies, they're lucky to do 500 in a year.
Yeah.
And so to move ahead into volume manufacturing where you're doing thousands, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And Janice, I tried. There literally was one on Bring a Trailer that was sitting in the 20,000 range. And I'm like, okay, that's worth it.
Sure.
And it ended up at $70,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was in Florida. I don't want to get anything from Florida right now.
Yeah. The DeLoreans now, you could probably still find, if your search is in earnest, Dan, I'll help you find one. I think we can find one in the $45,000 to $50,000 range.
I want the one up the street.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
John DeLorean's lawyer lives up the street from us, Raffi as well. He lives a little further from Raffi than me, but lives right up the street. And at the end of the trial, 3 DeLoreans were given to the law firm, and he got one of them, and it's sitting in his garage. It's got about 900 miles on it,
Wow.
which means it needs probably 20
Everything.
grand, 20 to 30 grand worth of work to get it back to
Well,
the condition mine was when I sold it.
yeah.
And he was thinking his was worth 65 grand 10 years ago.
Mm.
And he was wrong, but now he might be close.
Well, it's a low mile car. There's no doubt about that being valuable, but you'd with that car, uh, you'd never want to keep that car if you're going to drive it and use it. You'd never want to keep that car as it is. You'd want to drop the
Change it.
motor, do everything, and do probably a stage 2 upgrade to it
Yeah.
so that you can enjoy it. But you're right, you'll spend 25K on it. So to buy it right, you'd have to pay the tops you'd pay for that car would probably be 48, maybe 50 if you really wanted it, because you're going to have to get everything. You're going to have to get tires. You're going to have to replace all the soft parts on it. You'd have to go over the electrical. There's things that have to be done. And these are not cars that you would ever want to restore because some of the components and details, they're co-molded, injection molded parts that have complex interfaces that you can't remove and fix. You have to remake them.
Yeah. Now, DeLorean in Texas, in Humble, Texas, they have enough parts to build 30,000 DeLoreans. That's how many parts are left over in the factory when they shut down.
Yeah.
So you can get pretty much every part, and you can upgrade every part in the car and make it a daily driver. I know Toby Peterson, who runs the DeLorean shop here in Bellevue, Washington. His has, I think, over 250,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we have a really good line here from our friend in Ireland. I'm going to say it first before I put up on the screen. His grandfather kept telling everyone that the Titanic was going to sink. He told everyone. Eventually, they kicked him out of the theater.
That's a good one. we're gonna have to
Spoiler alert.
Write some of our material.
No, the tooling is not still available. That's the problem. They took all the tooling for the body parts and they threw it in the Thames.
Yeah,
it's anchors. They made anchors out of it.
And there's no reason to sell or to save tooling. It's tooling is, once you're done making something, it's enormously expensive to maintain. You have to keep the tool properly polished. You have to continue to treat the metals so that it doesn't degrade. There's all kinds of things associated, and basically you're storing thousands of pounds of unusable steel until there's a call for reuse. And it's very unusual that they would save it at all.
What happened, here's the interesting thing. I don't remember if it's the right fender or the left fender. One of them, they had not produced them yet. They're in the process. They just finished, let's say it was the left fender. They just finished the left fender, and then the company went under. So they hadn't done any more right fenders. So a right fender is worth like 10 times what a left fender is worth. So if you find a junked one and it's wrecked on the left side and the right fender's good, you could probably spend 10 grand for that car, because people will pay crazy money for the right fender or the left, whichever one it is, I forget.
Well, that's really interesting because is it the front or rear fender?
Front fender.
So that's interesting because at some point the model for manufacturing a new fender of the opposite side would make sense, because you could run a high volume press with a steel tool, amortize the costs. Let's say it was $100,000 and you did 1,000 fenders. You'd be able to amortize your costs pretty quickly and recover them.
But the problem is there's only 6,500 cars.
Well, that's true. And you have
how many are going to need fenders?
Yeah. But you'd be surprised. I thought for one of the markets that I built aftermarket parts for, I thought there would only ever be a need for 3,000 pieces, because that's all they ever made was 3,000 cars. But turns out, as of last year, I'd sold more than 7,000 of those pieces.
Wow.
And the reason why appears to be that the part fits other cars. So, so
Oh,
now that may certainly not be the case here, but because it's specific and unique to that. But you never know with some of these parts where they say, well, how many did they make? And well, that's the market. But oftentimes, a lot of these parts have overlap with other parts out in the industry.
yeah. I reached out to Goodyear because the Goodyear raised white letter tires that were on the car in the Back to the Future movie.
Yeah.
It was not the tire that was on the car originally. It was an NCT.
Yep.
It was the original, and I still have 2 original tires. The rear tires for mine. That's the only thing I have that, and I have this. That's all I've left of my DeLorean.
Oh, that's the shifter dog. For
Yeah, there's something to do with 5th gear. Like this was bringing it up so I can get into 5th gear.
Yep. That's you know what? If you tip that on its end and set it on the table, yes, it can be an iPhone stand.
Oh, I never thought of that. Where's my phone?
You can mount it on a piece of wood, and it's a high-tech iPhone stand.
Apparently, there's a gouge right here.
Yes.
See it. And that's not supposed to be there.
Right.
And it caused my 5th gear. Yeah, I forgot. I pretty much rebuilt the transmission in that thing too. I should have never sold that. Anyway.
Well, you did well with it. You got good money for it at the time.
Oh, it was top. I mean, I got one of the highest prices for. Yeah. I mean, we crossed the 40 mark.
You can't complain.
Yeah, but now if that guy put that car on Bring a Trailer, he would probably get $90,000 for it.
Yeah, I think 80 to 90 is probably conceivable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would buy it back from him in a heartbeat for what I paid for it.
Yes, I would too.
I doubt he would sell. I should have put a first right of refusal disclaimer in our agreement. That if he sells it, he's got to call me first.
Well, I mean, if he decide, you can always reach him and tell him, hey, I'd like to buy it back.
Yes, this is the homoculator. I have 5 homoculators sitting in my storage unit.
The elusive homoculator. We'll have to make good on that at some point.
I know.
You know. Oh my goodness. You know, we still got a couple minutes.
He'd outbid me and take it home. Yeah, we do have a couple minutes. We haven't done old school.
We got to do old school.
All right, we'll be right back after this little bumper.
All right, welcome back to old school. It's been a while, but luckily with old school, there's always material because it's old. And today we're going to go to a company that's hardly talked about anymore, even though their vehicles continue to exist out on the marketplace. The AMC Eagle. Yes, the Eagle. This was a compact 4-wheel drive passenger vehicle built by American Motors Company, AMC, which was pulled in by Chrysler and later absorbed basically to be the Jeep brand or part of the Jeep brand. Now, the Eagle wagon, built for about a decade, from 1980 to, I believe, 1989. I think that was the last year. It may have been earlier. It may have run a little bit later, but produced a little bit earlier because they continued to sell them. This was a really, really innovative and novel vehicle, in that it was somewhat a precursor to the vehicles we see out there today, like a Subaru with 4-wheel drive wagon. So this was a tall wagon, and they looked a little funny at the time because they had big wheels and tires. They sat up high, and they looked like they were a little tippy. But boy, I'll tell you what, they absolutely were right on market, maybe even a little early in the marketplace, because they were very, very versatile. They were good running vehicles. You could get them with sports packages. The MC Eagle Limited was offered, I believe, in the Concord model. You could get them with fake wood siding, and you could get them with a little bit of performance, as well as unusual and interesting features, including the AMC Eagle Camback model, which had the rear door of the former Gremlin. So interesting, really novel idea that did reasonably well in the marketplace, but was quite a bit ahead of its time. Now today you can probably get, there's one Dan's, that's a really a great shot that shows how tall these things were, how high they sat. You can see it's parked right next to a Jeep, and the roof profile is probably within about 68 inches of the taller Jeep. So if you're looking for a retro vehicle that is not going to cost you a lot of money, very easy to maintain, not complex running gear by any means, make sure that you find one that has good cosmetics, particularly the interior, because the interior on these are made from high volume molded plastics. So you're going to struggle to find original or new old stock parts to replace any of those deteriorated materials. But the exterior can be painted very easily. Even the faux wood siding is available that can be applied. 3M still makes these appliques. Much of the trim can be removed and polished, and some of the badges and accessories and things like that. Even wheels can be reconditioned. So don't worry too much about exterior. Try to find one that doesn't have much or any rust, and that shouldn't be too hard because many of these did sell into the West Coast, Western state cars from Washington, Oregon, and California. California being the best possible market. Here's one that probably is going to go forever. Looks like it's what, about $1,000 car?
1,100. It was in the Gambler 500. It looks like.
There you go. And these are durable vehicles. That engine will run forever. That's a carbureted inline six. This one's going to need a little bit of work, but for $1,000, you got something you can have some fun with. I regularly do see these for sale periodically. Original ones might set you back $10,000 to $12,000. A really nice knockout, great looking one. You'd be surprise yourself to pay anything over $20,000. And when you can't get a brand new Subaru all-wheel drive wagon for anything less than $40,000, it makes something unique like this look like an interesting proposition for someone who wants to go old school. Oh, there you go.
No, yeah, that first picture I showed you, that was from Back to the Future, because
Yes,
Jennifer Parker's dad drove one.
yeah,
And when they went into the alternate 1985 and they pulled in front of her house, the same car was there, but it was all smashed.
yes. Yeah, and these are getting harder and harder to find in really good condition.
Yeah, I put one into Craigslist. There was one within 500 miles of here.
Yeah. Oh, there's Jake.
Jake
Corvette
just
Jake.
made it. Jake, I thought of you when I was at the airport the other day because I have a theory. People that wear masks, when you see each other, because there's so few people wearing masks anymore, but the airport, it's still, the flu's going around too. I don't want to get the flu.
Yeah.
So few people wearing masks. When you see another mask wearer, it's like two Corvette drivers who see each other. It's kind of
They nod. They go, "Hey."
you.
For me, I'm wearing a mask every day, and everyone is required to wear a mask on campus. So at the college, I'm wearing a mask all day long, and it's gotten to the point where, I have 2-3 hour studios that I teach. By the end of the day, I've forgotten I've even got it on, and I take it off, and oh wow, geez, I have students. I've never seen the bottom half of their face. They're just and they're
The problem I have is the glasses.
Yeah.
Certain glasses fog up the glasses.
Yes, they
And
do.
as I'm walking through the airport, I was like, wait, I don't need glasses for these are basically reading glasses. I mean, I
Yes.
don't need them for looking.
You don't have a pair of walking glasses.
Right. I can't wear a mask eating pizza. That is true.
Yes. That's
And
right.
on the plane when I ate, I did take my mask off.
And shout out to Bob, whom I had pizza with at the Walnut Creek Slice House, by the way.
Slice House.
Slice House. Fabulous pizza. Very, very tasty. Bob promises to take me there again. But we met with some car buddies from the local group, and we had an engaging conversation on the future of automobiles. I will be speaking on the very subject for a car group gathering that happens in Northern California. Somewhere between 60 and 70 people expected to attend. And I promise to be entertaining, if not at least engaging.
There you go. Janice says you can put the pizza in the mask like a horse bag.
Yes. Yes. That's Janice, that's my retirement occupation, is to sit on the sofa and have a pizza bag just going nonstop.
One old school, let me think. Ray made a couple comments earlier I wasn't able to get to about when you left, interest rates were at 3 and now they're 7. So don't leave again.
Yes.
You apparently affect interest rates.
Yes. It's the butterfly effect. In order to keep interest rates suppressed, Raffi has to be on Clutch Radio. But I will be back. I'll be back next week.
I won't be here next week, though.
Oh, you won't be here next week?
I'm shooting a little sitcom next week.
Oh, that's right.
I'll be down in LA.
Okay. Well, then we'll work it out, because we're going to head into Thanksgiving break. And
are you coming up here for Thanksgiving?
What's that?
Are you coming up here for Thanksgiving?
I will be. I will be there.
Maybe we could do a driving episode that Saturday.
It's certainly possible. I have, and then after Thanksgiving, 2 more weeks, and then I'm home again and done teaching. So
awesome. Yeah. Ray also says, and we're going slightly over this week because Raffi hasn't been here in so long, and I have nowhere. Raffi may have somewhere to go. I don't, but we'll go a couple minutes over. Ray says he's getting reports from Ford dealerships now of standing new inventory and discounts are coming back. No more paying over retail MSRP, and lost leaders will be back by the spring.
Yeah. Well, look, the mayhem of the past year and a half, it couldn't last. It wasn't going to last. I've had multiple conversations with people who tell me, I owned the car for 6 years, and then I took it back to the dealer and got more than I paid for it. Yeah, those days are pretty much over, unless you've got a pretty unique car that is in high demand. Vehicle volume is starting to come back. Interest rates at double what they were just a few months ago has significantly changed the buying model for automobiles. And whereas it didn't have as much of an impact in the past, because you finance 20 grand, okay, but now you're financing 60, 70 grand. And over 7 years, because financing on an $80, $90, $100,000 car at 7%, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, no, here's our local Ford dealer. They have 93 in stock. Mm-hmm. No dealer markup, and there's a little asterisk beside it.
Yeah.
What could the asterisk possibly mean?
That they're taking steroids.
Yeah, and then because MSRP is here. But then accessories $299, so that's kind of a markup because they're making by the accessories. But then they're discounting $1,600. Oh, and there's a factory incentive of $1,000. So you're getting it for $2,200, $2,400 below.
We're heading into the slowest period for automotive sales anyway. Come January, early February, these cars are going to be offered at discounts because the volume for sales just isn't going to be there. And look, the best time to buy a car is Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, because dealers are going to want to get rid of them. And if you're not going to do dealer financing, you'll save yourself some money. But there's a lot of volume out there that needs to be sold, and the price is going to have to come down.
Yeah, the Mustang Mach-E, they've got 9. Now they're not in stock because they don't have pictures yet, so they're all in transit.
Yeah,
so they might be sold already, but still,
it could be. And the Mach-E is a great car. It's very well built. It's very nicely optioned. It's a nice package. But, and I do hesitate saying this, if you park it next to an AMC Eagle, you'll see the similarities immediately.
We tied it all back in. So here's the asterisk. The no dealer markup program excludes the following vehicles: Ford Raptor and Ford GT350. A negotiable doc fee in the amount of up to $150. It's actually $200 in the state now. may be added to the final sale price or capitalized cost. Advertised sale price may also include dealer installed accessories.
Well, I am, we're going to have to sign off because I am engaged in a task with a friend of mine who has asked me to join her to pick out and shop for a van conversion, which she would like to use for retirement travels, driving throughout North America. So, so we are going to go car shopping, van shopping for van conversion that she can use, sleep in, hang out in, camp in.
All right. Well, take some video, take some pictures, and maybe in 2 weeks when we're back, we can talk about the experience.
And bank that photo that I sent you via email, and we'll have the conversation.
Oh, you sent it by email?
Yes, yes.
I was waiting for it in my text.
Clever use of vehicles in the city of San Francisco. We'll park it underneath that category.
Wow.
Yes, we'll save that for our next show.
A little teaser for the next show. And Ray, we'll end with this. CarMax is now paying nothing for trade-ins, less than 100 cars each week for their auction. Dealer Auto Auction is 1,000 each week. Man, I'm 2,000 cars are everywhere.
Yep.
And I had a friend who was returning his lease, and he said, "Hey, my payoff is this much. Should I buy it and try to sell it?" And I said, "Not at this point. Your payoff is probably, once you pay tax, less than you're going to get for it. Just turn your lease in now."
Yeah.
The fun times are over.
Yep. Well, we've done it. We've done the hour. It's passes so quickly.
You didn't guess.
I didn't guess. What was it?
McLaren.
Oh, McLaren.
McLaren F1 from they were in Vegas, I guess, for the F1 thing.
Wow. No, I did not. I would never have guessed that.
There you go. My son did thought it was JVC.
It looks like JVC. Absolutely.
Yeah. Inventor of the VHS.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our bonus edition. Raffi's been back. We will be off next week as I'll be in California. And hopefully Raffi will be back the following week with us. And we'll do that. And we'll have a live show together. But the following week will be Thanksgiving. So we'll probably have a live show together that week.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty.
Bye, everybody.